What could be better than trying to finish a novel while recovering from a nasty bug? How about doing that and then going on vacation to sunny Southern California? What's up, YouTube? Michael R. Schulteis here, author of The Rostoval Saga, which you can see, as always, on this shelf behind me. So where have I been for 2 or so weeks? The short answer is, I've been on vacation. But getting there was a little interesting. So I had a goal that I set for myself. I said, before I go on this vacation, I've got to finish the 4th book of the Rostoval Saga. Now, I had a little ways to go, and I'd had some struggles in the month of April, and I was looking at having to write, 5,000, 6,000 words a day. It's the last week of April. I've made some good progress, but I've not quite where I wanted to be, and I get a nasty bug. I think it's the flu. So that was fun for a little bit there. I kept writing, I kept going. It's after midnight. It's Monday, technically Tuesday. We have to leave the next day. I finally finish it. And yeah, we went on vacation. We got to check out San Clemente, California, and Santa Barbara, California, visiting with some family. Got to see my brother and his wife and their new baby girl. Got to attend my cousin's wedding, which is very lovely. It was at the Ritz-Carlton Baccarat. I'm going to put a few pictures of the venue itself and also of the beaches, because you just have to see what's down there. I'll note, too, I was actually born in Santa Barbara, and it's kind of funny because I was raised in California, Northern California, and now the wife and I live in Oregon. So that was a fun bit of personal history to reconnect with. So with all of that said, enough about my vacation and my crazy life. Let's talk about how did I do with regards to my April TBR. Now back then, it feels like a lifetime ago, I had 6 books that I was going to read or push along in the case of one of them, and that didn't happen. So I did manage to finish reading and post reviews of a grand total of 2 of those books. Real class act on my part. I, the Jury, which is book 1 of the Mike Hammer series by Mickey Spillane. I'll link that video down below. And Carrion Comfort by Dan Simmons. Oh man, what a great book. I'll link that down below as well. As one book in that 6-book category that I did finish and I just haven't had time to shoot a video review of, but I'm going to do a dedicated review of that book, and that is The Purple Prince by Sebastian Menkes. I have a lot more to say about that one, so I won't say too much here. Other books from before April, in fact, actually before this channel, that I finished and still need to review. So there's one book in this category, that's Echoes of Angels, book 1 of the Sins of Angels series by M.A. Larkin and J.S. Morin. Oh man, space opera. It's a universe where people were ruled by angels for 2.5 millennia, and the angels gave people a bunch of rules to follow and disappeared. And now there's this one rebellious scientist. She's gonna ask questions and try and find answers, but turns out a society ruled by angels for a long time and not so good at tolerating dissent. All right, so I have a lot more to say about that one. I'm going to post a review very soon. For now, let's move on to my next category. All right, next category, digital purchases, fiction, in the month of April. My Gun is Quick, book 2 of Mike Hammer by Mickey Spillane. I really enjoyed book 1, I, the Jury, and I'm looking forward to this one. I have not opened it yet, but I will probably do this in June. I also picked up Fable's End, a Shintonia story by Seth Holloway. I don't know much about this one yet, but it looks like another really cool space opera with, I get kind of a fantasy vibe, but we'll see. Okay, switching genres here, historical fiction. The Warwolf, a peasant chronicle of the 30 Years' War by Hermann Lanz. So a German farmer facing the savagery of the 30 Years' War realizes it's time to kill or be killed. You got a picture, this is the period of time in which Germany is the cockpit for this incredible conflict between the Catholic and Protestant states of Europe. And there are mercenaries and soldiers from different parts of Germany, from Austria, from the Netherlands, from Sweden, you name it. France is involved in a pretty significant way, especially the financing a lot of this. So he realizes that it's a kill or be killed situation, and he and his neighbors decide to fiercely defend their own communities, and if that means getting rid of outsiders, then so be it. I am looking forward to this one immensely. I am very proud of my German heritage, although mine is from the Saxon part of Germany up north. And this is going to be a lot of fun to read. I do enjoy a good historical fiction, but I haven't read as much as I should. So I'm looking forward to this. Probably get into this maybe June. Okay, The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This is book 1 of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Now, I'm not going to say much about this because, in truth, haven't read it. Can't tell you very much, but I've heard such great things. So I'm looking forward to getting to that at some point the next month or so, probably. Okay, Godborn. This is book 1 of Gods of Bronze by Dan Davis. Now, I found this one through Dan Davis's channel. I'll link that down below. He does a lot of really cool Bronze Age and other historical videos. I have a bit of a fondness for the European Bronze Age. There's going to be some other books that will speak to that in this video. So this one looks really cool. I can't say too much about it. He builds it as a retelling of the Heracles myth, but it seems to be more on the Eurasian steppe. Anyway, don't know, looks really cool, and I'm going to look forward to reading that. Okay, so moving on to digital purchases for the month of May. Again, fiction category. Shadow and Claw. This is the first half of the Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. Another one that I'm not going to say much about. I will say that I've heard only very good things. I've heard it's pretty substantive. I've heard there's a lot of layers to this. It's definitely a very rich reading experience. And from what I hear, Gene Wolfe was the kind of authors who I admire, like Frank Herbert, looked up to. So this one is going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to this, and I'll have more to say when I actually start getting into it. One more for the month of May, the fiction category. We have Shadows of Angels, Sins of Angels, Book 2, again by M.A. Larkin and J.S. Morin. And I'm looking forward to that, and I'll have more to say after I post the review for the first book in that series. Next category, Kindle Unlimited borrows. What do we have here? We have Winter World. This is book 1 of the Long Winter trilogy by A.G. Riddle. This is a science fiction novel, and I was honestly so impressed by this one because it's very character-driven, but at the same time, it has this fantastic, very science fiction premise where alien artifacts have been spotted in the solar system, out in space, and we think that this is the reason that the sun's radiation is being eaten up and the world's being plunged toward winter. This is a very cool book. I devoured it, and I'll have a lot more to say in my dedicated review this week. Okay, Desert Places, Andrew Z. Thomas Luther Kite Series, Book 1 by Blake Crouch. Okay, I have to say, major props to Mike of Mike's Book Reviews. You, sir, are correct about Blake Crouch. This is such a cool book. I started it last night. I am already 1/4 of the way in. This is a mind-blowing thriller that just grabs you by the lapels and doesn't let you go. So I'm already a bit crazy about this one, if you can't tell. And I'll have a lot more to say once I finish it up. Okay, nonfiction. Thylacine, The History, Ecology, and Loss of a Tasmanian Tiger. This is one animal that I am totally obsessed with. And I love natural history. I love evolution. I like looking at the human past. And I'm also obsessed with just the whole history of life on Earth. So this is one animal that I'm always going to be fascinated with, especially because I'm one of those folks who is not totally convinced that it's extinct. There's an interesting part of this book that gets into the possibility that it might still be around. All right, moving to human history. The Horse, the Wheel, and Language, How Bronze Age Riders from the Eurasian Steppe Shaped the Modern World by David W. Anthony. So I have an obsession with European history, and more broadly with Indo-European history, which necessarily touches on the Eurasian Steppe, Central Asia, South Asia, Iran, the Middle East. This book, haven't finished it yet, really fascinating, gets into language, gets into archaeology, gets into history. It's fascinating because we're dealing with a language that died out before it could be written down, but we can still plausibly reconstruct this language and get a sense of who these people were and how they came to be the ancestors of so much of Europe and of many people as well in South Asia and Iran and some other places. So, very cool. And the next couple of books are in the same general theme. So we have the Oxford Handbook of the European Bronze Age, edited by Harry Fawkins and Anthony Harding. And then we have The Bronze Age in Europe, History and Legacy of Civilizations Across Europe, from 3200 to 600 BCE, by Charles River Editors. There may be a tie-in here with future writing plans. This is what we call foreshadowing. And I'm gonna close out here with one more book in the nonfiction category, Only in Africa, The Ecology of Human Evolution by Norman Owen Smith. This is a look at the geology and geography of Africa, and also at the ecology that contributed to the evolution of human beings, but more broadly our lineage. There were many different human species. There's a complicated and very fascinating story of our lineage after we branched from the ancestors of the chimpanzees and bonobos. This is the kind of book that really appeals to me because it gets into ecology, it gets into evolution, and helps to make sense of things, integrating a lot of information from different disciplines. So I have started this book, read a little bit, and I'm very excited to keep going. So that's my April to mid-May. And this is an unconventional video because I didn't have time to shoot an April wrap-up. So here we are. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to close this one out with a little bit of a talking about Book 4 of the Rostaval Saga. So Book 4 is, the first draft is complete. We have 202,942 word count. That is longer than any of the published 3. And my drafts generally get longer and sometimes much longer in the rewrite process for draft 2. In fact, I am working on draft 2 now. I'll be updating on Twitter as I go. I anticipate completion and being ready to publish in July of this year, and I'll say August at the latest. So July or August, we will have Book 4 of the Rostaval Saga, and I am going to have a lot more to say very soon, I promise you. So that's been my crazy month and a half. How about you? What have you been reading? What are you excited to read? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you next time.